In early 2025, archaeologists in Abydos, Egypt, unearthed the tomb of an unknown pharaoh from the Second Intermediate Period 1640 to 1540 BC, a chaotic era when Egypt was divided among rival rulers. The pharaoh, likely from the Abydos dynasty, remains unidentified due to damaged tomb inscriptions. However, the opulent tomb offers new insights into power dynamics during this shadowy period. Today, we will explore the tomb's context and significance, analyzing its features and the clues they provide about the enigmatic ruler. By combining archaeological detail and historical analysis, and shed light on the Abydos dynasty, and challenge existing historical narratives. The discovery took place at Anubis Mountain, a royal necropolis in Abydos, which lies in the desert about 6 miles from the Nile River in southern Egypt. Abydos is renowned in Egyptian tradition as the burial place of the god Osiris and as the final resting ground of Egypt's earliest pharaohs. For millennia, this sacred site has been a gateway to the afterlife and a coveted burial location for royalty due to its religious significance. It was against this storied backdrop that a joint Egyptian-American archaeological team, in cooperation with Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, undertook new excavations. In January 2025, their efforts were rewarded with a remarkable find: a large subterranean tomb complex nearly 23 feet underground. The tomb was carved into the bedrock at the base of a desert cliff, within the necropolis area called Mount or Mountain of Anubis by archaeologists. As the team excavated the sand and rubble, they revealed an impressive limestone burial chamber containing multiple rooms, all originally topped by tall mud brick vaults rising about 5 meters high. A decorated entryway marked the entrance to the burial chamber, still bearing faded murals and traces of hieroglyphic text. Dr. Yosef Wegener, the Egyptologist leading the Penn Museum team, noted that the painted scenes depicted the goddess Isis and her sister Nephthys flanking the doorway in a traditional protective motif. Bright yellow bands of hieroglyphs once ran alongside these figures, presumably naming the tomb's royal owner. However, ancient tomb robbers had defaced and plundered the site long ago, leaving the inscriptions fragmented and the inner chambers empty of their original contents. When archaeologists entered the burial chamber, they found no sarcophagus and no mummy. Only the architectural shell remained, a ghostly testament to a pharaoh whose name had been literally erased. Contextual clues nevertheless identified this as a royal tomb from the Second Intermediate Period. The combination of its location, scale, and decoration aligns with what is known of a localized lineage of kings at Abydos. In fact, the Abydos necropolis had yielded a similar find in 2014, when Dr. Wegener's team uncovered the tomb of King Seneb-K, Voseribre Seneb-Kai. Seneb-Kai was a previously unknown pharaoh, whose modest tomb and skeleton were found not far from the new discovery. The architecture and artistic style of the newly found tomb show strong parallels to Seneb-Kai's burial, leading archaeologists to conclude that the unidentified king likely belonged to the same line of rulers. Notably, the new tomb is much larger in scale than Seneb-Kai's. It is the largest yet known for this group, suggesting it may have belonged to an earlier or higher status pharaoh of the Abydos dynasty. According to preliminary studies by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the tomb belonged to one of the kings prior to King Seneb-Kai, and its size exceeds that of any previously known Abydos dynasty tomb. The discovery has thus opened a fresh chapter in the investigation of this long-lost local dynasty, offering a rare opportunity to study the burial practices and political significance of a pharaoh outside the traditional king lists. The Second Intermediate Period of Egypt, approximately 1640 to 1540 BC, forms the turbulent historical backdrop for this discovery. It was an age of political fragmentation, foreign incursions, and near constant conflict following the end of the Middle Kingdom. Unlike the stability of the great pyramid-building pharaohs of the Old Kingdom or the imperial might of the later New Kingdom, the Second Intermediate Period was defined by disunity. Multiple claimants to power ruled different regions of Egypt simultaneously, turning the land into a patchwork of rival kingdoms. Contemporary sources, though scant, and later records indicate that Egypt was essentially broken into up to 4 competing polities. The Hyksos, a Canaanite dynasty with superior military technology, invaded Lower Egypt and clashed with native rulers. Meanwhile, Upper Egypt's 17th dynasty fought to reclaim northern territories. This warring states period saw foreign invaders and indigenous dynasties vying for control, with smaller kingdoms emerging in the power vacuum. The Abydos dynasty, situated between the Hyksos and Theban kings, was confirmed as an independent seat of power during the Second Intermediate Period by the 2014 discovery of Senebkai's tomb. These rulers capitalized on instability, asserting autonomy over Upper Egypt. Archaeological analysis of the tomb's features has begun to piece together a portrait of the mysterious pharaoh and his burial. The layout of the tomb consists of an entrance corridor leading into a limestone-lined burial chamber, with additional side rooms branching off, possibly storage annexes for grave goods. The entire complex was solidly constructed. Its mud brick vaults, now partially collapsed, once formed high ceilings over the chamber, indicating a considerable investment of labor and resources in the tomb's construction. Such an elaborate design is striking for a Second Intermediate Period context, as it rivals the tomb architecture of earlier, more prosperous periods. In fact, Dr. Wegner noted that the tomb's architecture shows connections with both earlier Middle Kingdom royal tombs and later Second Intermediate Period tombs, reflecting a transitional style. This suggests the Abydos dynasty pharaohs drew on the legacy of the earlier 13th dynasty, which had ruled before the fragmentation, while also influencing the tomb designs of their contemporaries or successors. The newly found tomb is physically located within the larger funerary complex of a 13th dynasty king, Neferhotep I, at Abydos. This placement was intentional. By building his tomb adjacent to, or even intrusive into, Neferhotep's sacred enclosure, the unknown pharaoh was likely asserting a connection to the past glory of the Middle Kingdom. It symbolizes a link between his short-lived realm and the legitimate kingship traditions of earlier periods. Despite its impressive architecture, the tomb was found in a starkly plundered state. Archaeologists discovered that virtually all portable artifacts had been removed by tomb robbers in antiquity. The king's sarcophagus and mummy were missing, and no treasure or offerings remained in situ. Only the decorated walls and a few fragmentary clues survived the looting. Among these clues are the faint traces of hieroglyphic inscriptions in yellow pigment near the entrance. These likely once spelled out the royal name and titles of the pharaoh. Unfortunately, as Dr. Wegner explained, not enough survives to read the king's name due to the ancient vandalism of the texts. The robbers, who perhaps entered soon after the burial, not only stole precious objects, but also inadvertently destroyed the plaster and paint that bore the king's identity. All that is legible now are the depictions of Isis and Nephthys, the guardian goddesses of the dead, who stand on either side of where the name would have been. The presence of these deities confirms the tomb's royal character, since such figures and associated texts are hallmarks of a pharaonic funerary context. The team hopes that continued excavations in the vicinity might uncover artifacts, such as seal impressions, inscribed objects, or additional inscriptions in adjacent structures, that could clinch the identification. Even without a name, the material evidence from the tomb offers valuable information. The construction techniques, artistic motifs, and layout all contribute data about the period's funerary practices. The discovery of an unknown pharaoh's tomb at Abydos sheds light on a turbulent period in Egyptian history. Despite the chaos of the Second Intermediate Period, this forgotten king built a grand tomb, maintaining the traditions of Egyptian kingship. The archaeological evidence suggests that he was part of a dynasty that ruled Upper Egypt, while the Hyksos and Thebans fought for control. The tomb's elaborate construction indicates the pharaoh's status as a warrior king who asserted his legitimacy through military power and religious rituals. Although looters damaged the tomb and erased the king's written identity, the remaining structure and artifacts reveal a story of resilience and continuity. As excavations continue, archaeologists hope to uncover more clues about this lost dynasty and its enigmatic pharaoh. This discovery highlights the adaptability and resilience of Egyptian civilization, even in times of war and fragmentation.